Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today, we are covering Jeremiah chapters 14 through 16 with Landon Noll.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zone, latitude, and which year you identify with. And happy 2021.
Yes, I believe it is December 34th.
Of course, December 34th.
Of 2020, which has not ended yet.
It will never end. It is just continuous stream.
You know that there's different calendars out there, not just the one that Pope Gregory said everyone should use. And even moreover, there's different people that determine when the new year starts, right? And in fact, go and watch the history guy about why January 1st is considered by people to be the beginning of the year, and you'll find there's a whole bunch of stuff there. So that's why I said, depending on which year you identify with. Some people, like the Chinese, New Year hasn't happened yet.
Terrifying.
We're still on our previous year.
Well, I think it's canceled, too. They canceled it.
It's all arbitrary. I mean, it's all arbitrary as to when you start and end.
Absolutely.
These sort of cycle things are there. So happy new cycle for those that recognize January 1st as the beginning of a new cycle, and hope your next cycle for those that haven't yet started their cycle. So
Yes. Happy cycle, everybody.
Wonderful. Well, with that being said, we are cycling our way through these chapters. So
Smooth transition. Never seen a smoother one in my life.
It was pretty bad. Okay. We don't have a script.
And you know what? We should celebrate the continuation of Jeremiah.
If you can hold yourselves together,
Well, I have the King James version of the Bible.
I have the English Standard version of the Bible. We also have Erdman's commentary on the Bible. We have Robert Alter's translation of the Hebrew Bible with commentary.
We have Holiday's commentary and translation, I guess.
From Hermenia.
Yeah. And we have the Holy Scriptures, according to some Jews in 1913, and the New King James Version of the Bible. And Landon.
Well, I will be reading from the New American Standard Bible, a reference edition to A.J. Holman Company of New York, probably copyright God, but I haven't found that yet. Oh, copyright Lockman Foundation. Maybe that's God's shell company.
Yes. Maybe it's his, what are those called? It's its front. It's a front.
Surely they won't sue us for spreading the gospel.
Of course not. How could you be mad at the atheists spreading the word of God?
I'm so pissed I'm leaving by.
Yeah.
Well, I do believe, on the one hand, that copyrights, it might expire, but it's 70 years after the death of the author, is at 75. So it's a bunch of years after the death of the author, and so if God is dead, then it's all public domain.
Okay. That seems consistent. Well,
that all adds up.
So what do you have to say about yourself and what you've done with your research into these chapters that we're going to be reading?
I see. Good job
Jeez,
there.
what an almost huge aside.
Well, this in Holiday's commentary is broken up. So it has chapter 14:1 through 15:9. He has that as a unit. Now he does have a pretty messy structure and form commentary, so we're not going to get too deep into that.
Oh man!
But here,
did we forget about the wheel?
You're right. We have the wheel.
I have to proc the thing entirely.
Wheel.
Proc that wheel.
Procting the wheel.
On the way over here, I was like, you know what? I forgot to do the wheel last time. I got to make sure to do it this time.
What do you mean forgot? We only do it on Sundays.
No, I said, last time is in the last month.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
So we have that. We have the wheel thing. By the way, while his wheel's going to be spinning, yes, and Happy New Year to Matthew Hansberry.
Yeah, and of course, for any first-time watchers, when we spin the wheel, we are giving away a free T-shirt.
Yeah.
So if you are a patron of $10 or more, you could win a T-shirt if you are on this wheel.
And if
I mean, you go with a teacher like this, right? See, here's an example.
There it is.
Yee-ho. Right?
yeah,
And they have many other ones. They have the Botanic Forum T-shirt. They have a Bible quoting some Jews. They have Unforgivable. They have a bunch of cool T-shirts.
Yeah, we got lots of stuff.
yes, and
And if you don't
can
win, you can buy them at a store, but that's for later.
Exactly. That is for later.
So currently we have 2 people.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
But that, you know what? It's been a tough year for people, so whatever.
And
completely.
hey, if you're a fan of reverse psychology, don't do it.
Yeah, right.
Don't become a patron. That's the last thing.
All right,
that we would
well,
want.
I can... I'm ready. I'm ready when you are now.
All right, great. So why don't you spin that wheel? And I assume that
Is it spinning? Oh, there it goes.
I
There it
assume it's
goes.
spinning, yeah.
It could be Landon.
Let's see.
It's Alice.
Alice!
All right, we don't have to make a new shirt.
Alice, you're gonna get a shirt.
Congrats,
You are
man.
going to get a shirt, Alice.
It's gonna be your size
Whatever.
and
Yeah.
your choice among
Yeah.
what we have.
I'll
Absolutely.
yeah.
We can't
message.
just give you any shirt in the world.
It has to be shirts among the shirts that we have.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know it's been a while since we gave a shirt to Ellis. It's
Yeah, but you know-
landed on Landon a lot.
Yeah, it does that. All right. So now that we have,
I'm sure the random number generator is unbiased.
yeah, we're never so
I
sure
hope
about
it
that.
is. You know, I'm going to
I
be
could
unbiased
donate-
about it.
I could donate a lava light lamp. You can build lava around and make sure that's cryptographically sound.
I was just going to aim, you know, a photo sensitive thing to the sun and see how many times it gets hit by, you know, a certain range of electron volts of radiation. And that's random.
For all we know,
It's random
it could
to
be
me.
spinning and then all of a sudden you put up an image
Uh-huh.
that shows where it lands. Right? You never know.
Man, that'd be crazy.
I mean, I understand that there's other people that have questioned how Milwaukee does certain selections.
Oh, yes. Well,
Yeah.
we use an elaborate array of quantumly entangled binary neutron stars.
Oh, yes. Obviously. We in Milwaukee are the most advanced
You have
people
no
on
clue.
the planet.
You have no clue how much effort we go through here.
It's all local city ordinances.
Billions of years of effort in the ordeal. All right, moving on with our fun jokes.
All right, so we can get into a little bit of the commentary. I mentioned already that these the chapters that we will be covering are a little bit jumbled in structure and form, so we won't be getting too deep into that. However, here are some notes from Holiday. In dealing with 14.1 through 15.9, questions of structure, form, and setting are mutually dependent, and commentators have taken a variety of options in the approach to this section. Some have simply assumed a collection of disparate pieces. A mixed collection of oracles is, a quote used by somebody. Any order or unity perceived here will then be a secondary one. Others have been impressed by the rubric, "You shall say to them this word," at the beginning of 14.17, and have seen 14.1 through 16 and 14.17 as 2 separate units. There is, in each case, a word of desolation, the drought in 14.2 through 6. There's Jeremiah's lament over the desolation of the land. It's followed by a lament of the people, which is followed in turn by Yahweh's prohibition to Jeremiah against interceding, and his word and his word that he will accept no intercession from anyone. Yahweh's word to Jeremiah is rounded off by 14.6 and 15.4. So there are, as you can already see, many ways that you could divide the text, many ways you could look at it. So questions of structure, unity, those are all still, talked about.
Well, looking over it here, I mean, 1510 goes into a woe section, so that's definitely
Whoa.
something else.
Yeah,
But,
definitely love those
And
woes.
it's
Huh?
WOE, not WO, not woke, but whoa, right? You got to
Whoa,
be.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
All that Isaiah stuff.
Not WHOO. Whoa.
WOAH.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Which is a much better woe.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, let's get into chapter 14.
Yeah, so one thing that I can't comment on is the setting.
Okay.
So this is from Holidays. I propose that the date of the emergency that gave rise to this counter liturgy, which he calls it a counter liturgy, was November or December 601 BCE, obviously. Several interlocking bits of evidence contribute to the hypothesis. So, one, the only instances in which fasting is mentioned in Jeremiah are 14:12 and 13:6 and 9. Rudolph points out that there were evidently no regular days of fasting in Judah until the time of the exile, when such days were established to remember the tragedy of the fall of Jerusalem. And he cites Zechariah for that. The Day of Atonement, in the form in which it is described in Leviticus 16, was evidently a development of the post-exilic period, and in any case, quote, afflict oneself, from Leviticus, does not specify fasting, even though it was eventually assumed to imply it. He goes on a little bit more about that context. So the fast in 36:9 was declared in the 9th month, or of either the 5th year of Jehoiakim or the 8th year of Jehoiakim. In the Mishnah, it is stated, quote, if the 1st of Chislev was come and no rain had fallen, the court enjoins on the congregation 3 days of fasting. It is plausible then to suggest that a drought was a motivation for that fast. He goes on to make quite a few more links, but his setting overall was November, December 601.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get into it then. Chapter 14. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the dearth. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. And their nobles have sent their little ones to the waters. They came to the pits and found no water. They returned with their vessels empty. They were ashamed and confounded, and covered their heads, because the ground is chapped. For there was no rain in the earth. The plowmen were ashamed. They covered their heads. Yea, the hind also calved in the field, and forsook it, because there was no grass. And the wild asses did stand in the high places. They snuffed up the wind like dragons. Their eyes
Also, like jackals.
no, it's like
jackals,
dragons. The KJV is
I-
the best version.
Do not care.
And wild donkey is the other thing. We're not talking about people mooning folks from the high places. I mean,
Right.
they've done weird things on high places, but mooning is not what we're referring here. And by the way, is this purporting to climate change, or is this merely allegorical wrath of God?
Seriously, it's jackals and dragons.
It's like
3 weeks in a row.
it's-
Yeah.
It's like the Dust Bowl, right?
Stuff? Yeah.
It's a famine, and it's horrible. Of course,
Yep. And
you everyone knows what a famine looks like. They've seen
I
the
mean,
movies.
So when they're talking about
Nope.
these winds, they're talking about sandstorms and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which they have many deserts all over the place to choose from. So
And as we all know, the region was going through quite a lot of drought and drying, and it still is quite dry today.
yes, it is.
Well, there was a good point in time when it was flourishing.
Right. I'm saying that it's still geologically, or what would we say, climately changing towards desert.
Yeah,
Even
definitely.
It's still becoming more arid.
Well,
That's what I wanted to
There's
say.
a current effort to increase the amount of trees across the region.
And that actually slows the encroachment of desert, according to Vegas officials. They need to have a green line to prevent Vegas from getting overwhelmed by sand dunes. Every year they have to like pump an entire Great Lake worth of water onto these green lines.
Jeez.
Because most of it evaporates.
Sure, sure,
It's
yeah.
not getting to the plants. So it's kind of interesting that they do that. Sorry.
Well,
Total
anyways,
side note.
why don't we continue on unless, okay, I'm in the middle of a verse. Their eyes did fail because there was no grass.
Yeah, and so it's more literally, their eyes are finished. So later Hebrew traditions made this an idiom for pining or longing, and that could conceivably be the meaning here. But the sense may rather be that the eyes of the wild asses, faint with hunger, go dead as part of their failing state. And go dead as part of their failing state. This is a horrible name. Lundbum proposes that the lack of vegetal nutrients, in fact, leads to blindness in such animals. Now I have no idea. I'm not a biologist. I couldn't tell you. However, I think, dying makes more sense there. Although also, I don't, their eyes being finished. Yeah, it sounds like they're, kind of slowly dying.
Or they're blind due to,
Yeah, but see, I don't know.
neonatal
Or they
health.
were in an eye race and they got to the finish.
Or the sandstorms have blinded them.
That
is
makes
also
a lot
possible.
of sense too. Or at least damage their vision slowly over time. Yeah, so I see what they're going
Well,
for.
it says their eyes failed because there was no grass. So,
That makes sense.
Uh,
I get nothing to stop the sand, basically.
or nothing to give them nutrition.
For there is no herbage.
Maybe, yeah.
O Lord, though our iniquities testify against us, do thou it for thy name's sake. For our backslidings are many, we have sinned against thee. O the hope of Israel, the Savior thereof in time of trouble. Why shouldst thou be as a stranger in the land, and as a wayfaring man that turneth aside to tarry for a night? What shouldst thou be as a man? Why shouldst thou be as a man astonished, as a mighty man that cannot save? Ooh, can't save. Oh, that sucks. You'll lose all your progress.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, man, you're going to have to
Yeah,
default to that
but
last
when the game
checkpoint.
crashes, you'll have to start over from the beginning because you didn't have a save file.
Yet thou, O Lord, art in the midst of us, and we are called by thy name. Leave us not. Thus saith the Lord.
Do not forsake us, is what mine did. So this is a pretty big. In my Bible, verses 2 through 9 are sort of indented as this little what it claims to be. This is the way, that the word of the Lord was. Although it's interesting that they said the word of the Lord regarding the drought, and he ends with "do not forsake us." Well, if it's the word of the Lord, then wouldn't the Lord say, "I have not forsaken you," rather than "do not forsake us"? It seems like he's got a context problem in this word of the Lord thing.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, 2 through 9 is supposed to be the word of the Lord. What is it? Verse 9 makes no sense with regards to that.
I see where you're going for. So I don't know if it's a translation thing. I don't really. I mean, I can check on that.
Yeah.
So if you,
I mean, it just seems like, if this is, God appearing in a vision or a dream or so forth, God would not say,
see, maybe this is, so God has revealed something to Jeremiah, and now Jeremiah is doing this lament. So I don't know.
In the middle of a verse, it's not
but
even
this-
the second part, yet thou, or Lord, that's not even capitalized in the KJV.
Yeah, I know we just started
It
the
is
stream.
it is in here, but
Because again, the first one said, thou that came as word of the Lord Jeremiah regarding the drought, right? Its context starts with, God speaking to Jeremiah regarding the drought. And then somewhere along the way, Jeremiah gets a little bit of himself in there, or somebody else, not God, in there. When is that? Or is the indentation?
Okay. So this is Alter's translation from verse 1. That which was the word of the Lord to Jeremiah concerning matters of the droughts. And then the note, the wording of this introductory formula is somewhat different from the usual the word of the Lord came to. So that's still a little fuzzy. I am going to see if I can find something on the form or structure of that.
Please do.
Yeah, I'm giving it a shot here. So I suppose I can check for the last part as well in verse 9.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, because the formatting suggests that verse 10 is a new paragraph. Now, perhaps the problem is that the first paragraph of chapter 14 ended early, and some of these other verses are Jeremiah reacting to the word of the Lord, and it's not clear where it.
Sure. Honestly, it doesn't say anything about the any kind of change in speakers or where it directly is. But we can continue reading. I will find it.
All right. Thus saith the Lord unto his people, thus they have loved to wander, they have not refrained their feet. Therefore the Lord doth not accept them. He will now remember their iniquity and visit their sins. This wandering likely being a degradation into worshiping the other gods.
That would fit, yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to physical wandering like they did from allegedly Egypt.
Yeah.
But mine says, will remember their iniquity and call their sins to account.
More judicial. Then said the Lord unto me, pray not for this people for their good.
Okay, so I guess it would make sense then that the other part was Jeremiah's lament, and then this part is now the words of the Lord, although we've also seen where it does give you the words of the Lord, and then it's immediately followed by thus the Lord said, and then it's once again the words of the Lord. We have seen that before as well.
Yep.
Okay, so the verse. So this is for verse 1 there. The verse offers a fresh superscription introducing the sequence on the drought and the battle. The syntax of the expression is odd, but it is not a copyist's error. The same structure appears in 46.1, 47.1, and 49.34.
It's kind of like a setting piece, It's describing the conditions that this drought is like. So it's
definitely
like an introductory paragraph, like, in the version you got.
Sure.
So maybe something like that.
So this superscription may govern a short passage as well as a long one. It is likely that it governs here the whole counter liturgy. The word drought here, he gives the Hebrew for it. There is some uncertainty how to analyze the word. A related word, drought. So two different words for drought. They're very ever so slightly different, like one letter apart. Of which the word in the present passage may be a plural of intensity, but there also exists a singular form of the word, a word which, however, has been misunderstood as in distress following the Greek. On the other hand, the present word may not be correctly vocalized, and an abstract singular form of it has been proposed on the analogy of the Syriac besherut, lack of rain. In any event, the meaning of the word here is clear. Okay, so that's all that they give on that. That's a bummer.
Incredible. Wonderful. So Then said the Lord unto me, pray not for this people, for they are good. When they fast, I will not hear their cry. And when they offer burnt offerings and oblation, I will not accept them. But I will consume them by the sword and by the famine and by the pestilence.
Now that, of course,
Sounds a little like the horseman.
yeah, it does, doesn't it? Right at the end of the horseman thing.
Yeah, it includes all of them, actually. Death, because they're consumed. Sword for war.
There are other clearer ones, but yes, these are some of the things that are included in that. Obviously, sword, famine, pestilence. There, and the thing is, pestilence would be closer for the death thing, because the word in the Greek would be death by disease specifically. So it's I go over these. I forget if it's these passages or a different set of passages, but this formula appears multiple times in Jeremiah.
But it's not apocalyptic.
Well, the thing is, it technically is apocalyptic, but it's not in the same so when we think of, like, if these are the words of the Lord, or if something is being revealed here, it is technically apocalyptic. But it's not, it's not eschatological in the same way as texts like Revelation or Daniel. Like those, we easily throw those into apocalyptic genres, even though it's hard to define apocalyptic. Like it's very hard to define. J.J. Collins goes over, like, his entire first chapter is about just defining what people mean by apocalypse, and there are multiple definitions of apocalypse, and some books that we would call apocalypse don't meet the definition, but we can be like, but it's obviously an apocalypse. Like when you think of an apocalypse, this is something you think of. So it's hard to find a good definition of it. So you can have like miniature apocalypses in greater non-apocalyptic texts, for example. I think there's even like a tiny synoptic apocalypse in the Gospels. So it's just defining an apocalypse is weird. But either way,
But it's not eschatological.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this is necessarily eschatological. I'd say that it contains pleny of
and a
of
definition
hints.
of that is end of worldy.
Yeah,
right,
yeah, that's
basically.
that one. Yeah. So like end times kind of stuff.
But maybe like a cultural apocalypse.
Sure. It's like I said, hard to actually nail down a definition for apocalypse.
Well, I guess it would be, their goal here, God's goal, to wipe out all of the people who are practicing these certain cultural things.
I see what you're going for. Okay, I see. So more on the if you want to see the relationship to the horseman, I go over that in the Heavenly Horseman video. But further on, the triad, sword, famine, and pestilence, that stuff. So it's a fixed combination appearing 13 times in Jeremiah. This is its first occurrence. Though the triad is found within the present complex in 15:2 as well, these instances are essentially expansions of the pair sword and famine, which not only appears in verses 13, 15, and 16 in reverse order, and 18, but which appears to regulate the structure of the whole passage. The history of the triad is complex. There are many early expressions. I'm actually gonna note this for later. So for a study on the triad, I hope I can find this in English. It's from Weipert in the text Prosaridum. I sure hope it's probably not in English. Maybe I can find it in English. Who knows? I'll give it a shot. Either
Google
way,
it when you get the chance.
yeah. There are many early expressions, either positive or negative, which refer to the curse of these three and others like them, or the blessings of the lack of them. It is possible, then, that the triad existed in oral tradition long before Jeremiah's time. On the other hand, though the pairs pestilence and sword and famine and pestilence appear in pre-Jeremiah passages, I don't know if I would... Okay, so Amos definitely. He references part of Exodus, so I guess he's using an older Wellhausen dating. So Amos, yes, I would say that. 2 Samuel, he references 2 Samuel 24:13. I think part of it was probably, pre-exilic, but I don't recall the verse off the top of my head, so I don't know. Or the context, I don't remember any of that for the specific chapter. So either way, his dating just might be, very different from mine. But Amos, yes, I would agree that is a pre-Jeremiah passage. There is no occurrence before Jeremiah of the pair sword and famine. It's repeated occurrence in the present passage, and in comparable passages like 5:12 and 11:22 suggest that a specific historical crisis stimulated the pair at this time, and stimulated the use of the triad repeatedly in Jeremiah and Ezekiel. Miller remarks concerning the repeated use of the triad in Jeremiah and Ezekiel, quote, "It must not be forgotten that during this time these words were slogans which were accepted and rejected by many people. One question arises. Does the use of the definite article with sword, famine, pestilence here and elsewhere indicate a prose style, or does it suggest the sword and the famine that precipitated the crisis at the time?" That's an interesting one.
Or is it a meme?
Well, it would be like, yeah, that's just, yeah.
Okay, so this is a biblical meme.
Yep.
That's what motifs are.
No, memes are just very small packets of information.
I think
Motifs are huge sometimes.
Yeah, motifs are huge sometimes.
Memes are small.
But do they have to be? Is that
Yes.
part of the
Almost
definition?
definitely. They're a small part of a motif. Yeah.
Fair enough.
There's ways of breaking it down, and I've acknowledged that they have different definitions,
Whatever.
and you could look at it another way,
Language
but
is
mostly,
fuzzy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue. Then said I, Lord God, behold!
Behold! Landon. Hey, Landon.
Behold.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
I hope that some people also, do the behold thing in the chat room as well.
Yes,
Like one guy might. Maybe I will.
someone should.
Someone needs to because that's an important thing. You have to have the your rituals.
As the Bible has memes, so should our chat.
Absolutely.
Yes, many memes.
Did it.
Many Lawrence memes. You should make
Thank
a
you,
Lawrence
thank you,
diss
thank you,
track.
thank you.
Yeah, still waiting on Lawrence diss tracks.
Yep, we're waiting
God,
for
man,
it.
no one's ever gonna do
Yeah,
that.
probably
That's
not.
like the worst one. No, I mean we'd have to have somebody who pays attention to like every episode, because you bring this up only like once every 5 months,
Something like that.
and
Yep.
then we forget. We don't even care.
I've been waiting for it. Someone will do it someday. Okay. The prophets say unto them, Ye shall not see the sword, neither shall ye have famine, but I will give you assured peace in this place. Then the Lord said unto me, The prophet's prophecy lies in my name. I sent them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spake unto them. They prophesy unto you a false vision and divination, and a thing of naught, and the deceit of their heart. Therefore, thus saith the Lord concerning the prophets that prophesy in my name, and I want them not, yet they say, sword and famine shall not be in this land. By sword and famine shall those prophets be consumed.
Yeah, so quite a good chunk of stuff to discuss here. So about the prophecy, divination stuff, the false prophets, right?
This relates to the laws,
Mhm.
which state that they should be put to death.
Yeah, so what they preach, Yahweh typifies by an array of synonyms for emptiness. So he gives, a whole bunch of them.
Oh, so vain things.
Yeah. Jeremiah, however, uses this is in reference to. See, I can't even read the Hebrew, but okay, so they're using a word for divination apparently. So Jeremiah, however, uses it only here and in 23:16, both times of false revelation. Then there occurs the only instance of divination in Jeremiah. The actual word. I don't know what the Hebrew is.
Let me see. Where is it?
Right there.
Kesem.
Okay, there you go. Everybody, you're welcome. Though the word appears once in a good sense, oracle, or the like, you can cross-reference Proverbs 16:10. This word and its cognate are otherwise used only in reference to forbidden religious practices. So that's interesting. Ezekiel 21:26 describes the king of Babylon engaging in these by shaking arrows, consulting the teraphim, and looking at the liver, which, oh yeah, I remember that. Wasn't that a weird one? Like they looked at the liver to do divination? I remember that.
But they're allowed to use the and thummim.
Right.
Yeah.
So the designation is reinforced by worthlessness, a word that in other contexts is used to refer to pagan gods. So that the phrase here suggests that what the prophets preach is no better than pagan hocus pocus.
Vanity of vanities.
Yeah.
Must not engage in hocus pocus. That's
So
considered blasphemous.
and they'll be put to death. And that's all false prophets, by the way. And presumably, like, false preachers, like, their crime is that they're claiming to represent the word of God, but they're not, right?
Or in some cases, God himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And the people to whom they prophesy shall be cast out in the streets of Jerusalem because of the famine and the sword. And they shall have none to bury them, their wives, nor their sons, nor their daughters, for I will pour their wickedness upon them.
So,
Genocide.
well, yeah, but also, once again, people not being buried. What a shame.
So, there you go. God is literally genocidal.
Which verse? Just
That's verse 16.
verse 16. And the people to whom they prophesy, they shall be flung into the streets of Jerusalem because of the famine and the sword, and there will be no one to bury them, their wives, and their sons, and their daughters, and I will pour out upon them their own evil. Okay, and then let's hear.
All they did was like consult with somebody who's like at the temple, who claims to be a prophet, who's employed by the temple, probably.
Well, right, but it would be the wrong temple.
Yes,
that's what happens.
They wouldn't want to have a alternate temple. No.
Yeah, no.
They didn't have the wrong side of the tracks.
Just for
they had the wrong side of the temple.
Just for like showing up, they should be killed. Their entire family. That's Judeo-Christian morality.
Well, it's certainly something Jeremiah was looking forward to.
Yep. Therefore, thou shalt say this word unto them. Let mine eyes run down with tears night and day, and let them not cease. For the virgin daughter of my people is broken with a great breach, with a very grievous blow. If I go forth into the field, then behold!
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 The slain with the sword. And if I enter into the city, then behold!
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 them that are
Third
sick.
behold of 2021.
Yes. Them that are sick with famine. Yea, both the prophet and the priest go about into a land that they know not. Hast thou utterly rejected Judah? Hath thy soul loathed Zion? Why hast thou smitten us? And there is no good. And there is no healing for us. We looked for peace, and there is no good. And for the time of healing, and behold,
Behold!
Behold.
Behold, even more.
Yes.
Behold.
trouble. We acknowledge, O Lord, our wickedness and the iniquity of our fathers, for we have sinned against thee.
So one thing on for verse 19 there, the parallel of Judah is usually Jerusalem, occasionally Israel or Jacob. This is the only occurrence in Jeremiah of a parallel with Zion. If Zion has a parallel, it's usually Jerusalem. The impression left here then is that the people are concerned for political integrity, Judah, and hope to retain it through faith in the cult, Zion. One hears in 620 that Yahweh has rejected Judah. There is, of course, no way to know whether this rhetorical question is predicated on Jeremiah's prior proclamation of 630, but whether it is or not, the question, and you know what? Give some Hebrew words. Go ahead. Give those a shot. It's very, very short.
Im and Ha.
Okay, with Im and Ha. The questions with Im and Ha in the threefold question form imply a negative answer. Compare the rhetorical questions below in verse 22. The people cannot believe that the sentence has already been pronounced, and the infinitive absolute in the first colon reinforces the disbelief. The verb in the second colon, abhor, is found only here in the book, but a similar expression is found in the threat in 6:8. In both, and you know what? Give that a shot. That word, very short also.
Nefesh.
Nefesh. Okay.
Nefesh.
Nefesh. In both, the nefesh of Yahweh, his self, his soul, is represented as turning away from his people in loathing. Yeah, that's what you're getting.
All right. Where was I? Oh yeah, there I am. We acknowledge, O Lord, our wickedness and the iniquity of our fathers, for we have sinned against thee. Do not abhor us for thy name's sake. Do not disgrace the throne of thy glory. Remember, break not thy covenant with us. Are there any among the vanities of the Gentiles that can cause rain? Or can the heaven give showers? Art not thou he, O Lord, our God? Therefore we will wait upon thee, for thou hast made all these things. So the rain obviously being a reference to the drought.
Yeah.
They're basically like, you're the only one who can help us.
Right. So the first two cola offer rhetorical questions, the expected answer to which is no. And these questions form a nice counterpose to the first two cola of verse 19. In the questions about the pagan gods, expect the answer no. Then surely the questions about Yahweh can expect the answer no as well. So I'm going to look at Holiday's translation of verse 22 there, because his comments don't really fit with the translation. I just want to make sure I am interpreting this properly. So here's something interesting. So, are there among the non-gods of the nations any rainbringers? Can the heavens ever give you showers? It is not you, Yahweh, our God, for whom... is it not you, Yahweh, our God, for whom we long? Indeed, it is you who have made the whole curse. That's his translation.
Mm.
So I'm gonna check on any textual notes for that one. Yeah, I guess the only textual note, honestly, is just a bit on the vocalization. So now that you've heard that, for the phrase "non-gods of the nations," compare alien non-gods in 8:19. The Hiphil phrase, the Hiphil plural participle "rainbringers" is unique, and Jeremiah may have devised it for the occasion. Its very plurality is a contradiction in terms. How could there be a multiplicity of divine rainbringers? The parallel to that participle is a bit more surprising in our day. We are so accustomed to looking to the sky for signs of rain, but of course the second colon carries the same question the first does. The heavens are a part of creation, created by Yahweh as much as the earth is, and the heavens do not produce rain of themselves. Note that they are personified as cosmic witnesses in 2:19. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, that's the chapter. If you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, comment, subscribe, etc. Share it with all of your friends, family, neighbors, countrymen, and countrywomen, and every country person.
Just sharing it with your landlord too. I mean, you never know. Maybe your landlord might look kindly upon you.
Or maybe
Yeah.
they might raise your rent.
Or maybe they might lower your rent.
They might. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Give it a test. Let us
Gamble.
know how it works.
On your next rent check,
Go
write
gamble.
the link to our live stream in the memo space.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't go wrong with that. Here's some commentaries. And then we can continue on into chapter 15. And of course, I said that was the part of the same section.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, on that page there.
Yes, I see.
Okay, good. Just making sure. All right, so chapter 15. We have just learned about a drought. Let's see what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Lord said to me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my heart would not turn toward his people.
So the literal sense of the Hebrew is my inward self, nafshi, is not toward the people. And the opening rubric, and Yahweh said to me, governs...
Okay, so it says Yahweh. Okay.
Yes. All of verses 1 through 4. The conjunction im here means even if. This occurs.
But there's a whole bunch of other verses saying that, covenant forever, which Lord are we talking about? The one that says never, blah, blah, blah. The one that says, yeah, get out of here.
Same one. He does both.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah,
no problem.
The exile really changed things up for everybody.
Yeah, so obviously it references Moses and Samuel.
Yes.
The conjunction doubtlessly has an alternative force.
Yeah,
it's
interesting that I don't think we've seen that specific pairing yet. Moses and Samuel. Strange one.
Well, Psalm 99, verse 6 mentions Moses, Aaron, and Samuel. The mention of these earlier intercessors is striking. Moses is mentioned only 4 times otherwise in the prophets. Isaiah 63:11 and 12, Micah 6:4, Malachi 3:22, and Samuel not at all otherwise.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that is pretty neat. We get a Samuel reference.
Yeah, that's a neat reference. I'm gonna have to think on that one.
What? Yeah, why doesn't he get referenced ever again by the prophets?
Yeah, that's strange. So then the Lord said to me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my heart would not turn toward this people. Send them out of my sight and let them go. And when they ask you, where shall we go? You shall say to them, thus says the Lord, those who are for pestilence, to pestilence, and those who are for the sword to the sword. Those who are for famine to famine, and those who are for captivity to captivity. Interesting. So what they so the things that you support that are horrible will happen to you.
Eye for an eye.
It says, where shall we go out? So confronted with the decree of banishment, exile appears to be implied. The people ask where they should go. The grim answer is to death or captivity.
Wow. Well, that's a strange wording then for that.
The fate of the banished people is spelled out in lapidary fashion, with the dire words repeated in a quick sequence: death, swords, captivity.
Okay, so it's way simpler than I thought, I guess.
It says, who for death to death, who for the sword to the sword, and who for captivity to captivity.
Okay, so pretty much whatever's going to happen to you is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're shit out of luck.
These are your options.
Just shit out of luck. We're going to be one of these.
Yep.
I will appoint...
Damn, it sucks to know what's behind all three doors, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I will appoint over them 4 kinds of destroyers, declares the Lord. The sword to kill, the dogs to tear, and the birds of the air, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. So some of the stuff is, that makes sense. It's interesting how it says 4 kinds of destroyers. I don't remember birds being referenced before as a kind of destroyer. We've heard plenty about swords and plenty about the beasts of the earth. That pops up a lot. And dogs pops up a couple times at least, right?
Yeah.
So this bird reference.
So
It's verse 3.
yeah, verse 3.
Unless this translation is just messed up.
Okay, so Second
Do
Samuel.
you have birds, Landon, in verse 3?
In verse 3, I have, let's see, there's dogs, birds of the sky,
Okay.
beasts of the earth,
Okay.
Yeah.
dogs back off. So yeah, birds of the sky. Although verse 3 does have a reference on that thing to Jeremiah 7:33, Deuteronomy 28:26, and Isaiah 18:6.
So Deuteronomy 28 is, obviously the intense one with all the curses.
Yeah. Jeremiah 7:33.
I'm checking that one out right now. 7:33, and the dead bodies of the people will be food for the food for the birds of the air and for the beasts of the earth.
Right.
Okay, there we go.
Right, because they won't be buried.
18:6.
Okay.
That also with birds of birds.
Huh, interesting. Don't remember the bird stuff that well, I guess, but
maybe it's a reference, as a prophetic reference to Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
of course.
Of course.
That's genius. I'm glad we have Landon here.
Yeah. Now we've just got to wait for that prophet in the Bible who's confined to a wheelchair in his apartment.
Yep.
Yep.
All we got to do is wait. It's in there.
Just gonna go start checking out his neighbors.
And I will make them a horror to all the kingdoms of the earth because of what Manasseh, the son of Hezekiah, king of Judah, did in Jerusalem. Okay, so this is probably a fresh wound. Because
this is verse 4.
Because usually they talk about the kings being horrible
to
and whatnot.
specify Manasseh as a diversion from Jeremiah's message, though Manasseh's sins were concerned to the exilic redactor of Kings, 2 Kings 23:26, 24:3. There might also be redactional expansion in 2 Kings 21:2-17. One may also note that the other occurrence in Jeremiah of the preposition Biglal on account of, namely 11:17, also seems to introduce secondary material.
Okay.
And Manasseh, son of Hezekiah,
Yeah, if you remember, he was the other bad one, right? Like one of the last bad ones.
He instituted idol worship in the temple.
Yeah.
2 Kings 21.
Yeah, let's be fair. There were plenty of bad kings, apparently. But, yeah, Manasseh was like, I guess the nail in the coffin, you could say.
The big boss.
Yeah. Well, he was like, one of the final ones there. Because if you want to talk about big bosses for that, it would be probably Jeroboam, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But this guy literally
but it's
implemented idol worship in the temple.
Sure. But it is interesting that the wound is definitely more fresh, so you can tell that this is probably from an earlier date.
Mm-hmm.
Who will have pity on you, O Jerusalem? Or who will grieve for you? Who will turn aside to ask about your welfare? You have rejected me, declares the Lord. You keep going backward. So I have stretched out my hand against you and destroyed you. I am weary of relenting. And of course, stretching out your hand against someone is a common parlance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At the time, at least. I have winnowed them with a winnowing fork in the gates of the land. Yeah, tell me about a winnowing fork.
Well, first, in verse 5, read your verse 5 again.
Verse 5, okay, you got it. Who will have pity on you, O Jerusalem, or who will grieve for you? Who will turn aside to ask about your welfare? Like, who's going to care about you, basically?
So, the extraordinary poem depends for its impact on several expressions hinting of Sheol, beginning with Li Sheol. So it's Li Sheol in verse 5, which means both to ask and to Sheol. It's difficult to be sure.
Wait. So to ask and to Sheol is in going to Sheol?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So it's wordplay with Sheol. Given the use of Eretz, I think, land, to indicate or imply Sheol in 14:2 and 18, the references to Sheol here provide strong indication that the passage belongs in the sequence which begins in 14:1.
Okay. So yeah, there's another one of those connections. So either way, yeah, no one's gonna care about you.
I don't have anything about the winnowing fork.
Oh, bummer. Okay. Is there perhaps a different translation for that? That's in verse.
I winnowed them with a winnowing fork.
Yeah, in verse 7.
Winnowing fork.
Altar.
Okay.
It's Zerah, I think. It's in 4:11. The mitzrah is the tool for winnowing, a winnowing fork. In Palestine, it's still made of wood, shaped like a pitchfork, but with thicker tines.
Okay.
That's okay. We're talking about verse 15:7.
Yeah, 15:7. Should I continue?
Mine also says winnowing fork.
Okay, I'll continue then.
Okay.
So, I have winnowed them with a winnowing fork in the gates of the land. I have bereaved them. I have destroyed my people. They did not turn from their ways.
So, on the gates of the land is probably a synodoke for the lands, the towns of the land. Though it should be noted that attacking forces would storm the gates.
Yeah, and these would be, the bigger cities, obviously, because they would be fortified.
Yeah.
I have made their widows more in number than the sand of the seas.
So this is a reversal of the promise to Abraham and Jacob.
There it is.
Yeah.
Whoop, there it is.
The sand of the sea, or would it be the sand on the beach?
The sand of the sea.
Sand of the sea, whatever.
Yep.
In the sea or next to the sea? I guess.
In the sea, obviously. I have brought against the mothers of young men a destroyer at noonday. I have made anguish and terror fall upon them suddenly. So, the mothers of young men, a destroyer at noonday.
Yes, I am looking.
So that's an interesting one. Is this I don't know if this is a reference to war or what this is. No clue.
Yeah, same here. This sounds weird.
At noonday.
Is this the whole
This-
verse?
So I just
just-
finished the whole verse. Yeah. So
I
that's
brought
verse 8.
upon them, on mother and young man as well, a despoiler at noon. I let fall on them all of a sudden alarm and panic. On mother and young man as well. The Hebrew syntax is crabbed. It reads literally on mother, young man. The Syriac shows on mother and on young man. It is possible that the particle meaning and originally appeared before young man and was scribally omitted. Alarm. The translation, assuming a connection between the verbal stem that means to rouse, is conjectural. The Hebrew ear elsewhere means town. Though in here, Holiday disagrees. It says the first word of the colon, ear, is open to multiple meanings. All commentators agree that the primary meaning is agitation. That is, the word is ear, too, a noun formed from ear, to rouse oneself. But this is doubtless true, given the parallel bahalot, terror. Of course, the common word ear, city, lies in the background. Jerusalem is named in verse 5. And if hippel can be used of throwing down a wall in 2 Samuel 20:15, it can be used of throwing down a city here.
Sure.
But beyond that is the possibility that city here implies shoal. Shoal and terror would make a good pair. There's the possibility that a phrase in Job 24:12 must be read Ir Metim, city of the dead, a reference to Sheol, and that the text of Psalm 73:20 contains such a reference. It is certain that the synonymous QRT in Ugaritic may be used of Sheol, and after all, gates, verse 7, implies a city.
That is true. That's a very interesting point. But there is nothing about the destroyer at noonday. I guess would that be
Nope.
war?
I guess the destroyer is
It'd be nice to know.
'Cause if you're talking-
nations who are coming in to literally kill them.
Right. But so this is specifically about This is more specifically, I should say, about men, right? About men dying, because you talk about the mothers of young men.
Yeah,
And you
because
talk about the widows.
The men were sent off to war.
Exactly. So this is about this destroyer at noonday would just be another, like some great nation fighting against them
Yes.
and killing off the men. Okay.
Could be someone from the north.
Right. Yeah.
And also, I heard an explanation for why that could be a reference to Babylon. That being that there is a desert that you don't want to go through. You can go around it by going north and then going around.
It would be weird. It would be a little strange because like they already had paths through that desert.
Yeah. Well, then that theory's probably bunk.
Like I don't know, but that's they did have passed through that desert already. Yeah, it was they already had them from the Assyrians. Like it was very very simple there. So let's continue here. She who bore 7 has grown feeble.
Is
She
that
has
a reference to the 7 martyrs?
that yeah in I don't think it's a reference to that. I think maybe the thing in Maccabees is a reference to this, but the other way it wouldn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah, but that 7 sons pines away. By the way, it doesn't say how many daughters. So,
Of course, but they don't. Oh well, it says,
it
she who
even
bore
says,
7.
One recalls the narrative in 2 Maccabees 7:1-42. The mother was deprived of her sons, one after another.
Yeah, but this is just she who bore 7 has grown feeble. and she fainted away.
So apparently there's a reminiscence of the Song of Hannah here. Possible reminiscence in verse 7, Samuel's words to Agag before he slew him, as your sword has made women childless, so shall your mother be childless among women, or be more childless among other women. 1 Samuel 15:33. And Saul's consulting Samuel for having summoned him from Sheol, 1 Samuel 28. There's also a life breath. She gasps out her life breath. Did you finish the verse?
I do not think I did.
Okay, why don't you finish the verse?
Okay. So, she who bore 7 has grown feeble. She has fainted away. Her son, as in, this is spelled S-U-N, by the way. Her son went down while it was yet day. She has been shamed and disgraced, and the rest of them I will give to the sword before their enemies, declares the Lord. So I'm guessing this is now a metaphor for Israel.
Me too.
Okay, so...
Or I suppose for Judah.
Yes,
Yeah.
probably. But the second colon is a pretty question, whether nafsha, her life breath, is the subject of the verb, her breath gasps, or adverbial, she gasps out her life / her breath. Since nefesh can be a synonym for the person himself or herself, either construction is possible. Since the fourth colon, she is ashamed and abashed, offers she as the subject. The third colon has her son as a subject, a chiastic structure that suggests that nefsha is the subject here. For this subject with the verb gasp, compare the subject ruach in Ezekiel 37:9. The passive participle of the verb occurs in 1:13. The expression in the third colon, her son is set while yet day, clearly balances the reference to the devastator at noon in verse 8. Question, is there any hint here that the sun sets, literally goes into the underworld at night? This is an Egyptian belief.
Yeah, I was going to mention that that would be straight up Egyptian.
Mm-hmm. In any event, it's clear that the concept of darkness was associated with Sheol, Psalm 56:14. A very similar expression is found in Amos 8:9-10. Her reaction is the same as that of the nobles and the farmhands in 14. She is ashamed. The parallel is synonymous and almost always in parallel with another one, to be ashamed. Yeah, that's what we get.
Okay. And now we have now we got to hear more shit from Jeremiah. He's complaining to God again. Can you believe this guy?
Yes.
Yeah, so 15.
He's just whining professionally.
Yeah, we get with the cry of woe. The prophet mourns his role as combatant of the nation. So he's going to protest the destiny laid out for him. Common motif in the hero's journey. And Yahweh is going to argue with him.
Great, I can't wait. All right. Woe is me, my mother, that you bore me, a man of strife and contention to the whole land. I have not lent, nor have I borrowed, yet all of them curse me. The Lord said, have I not set you free from their good? Have I not set you free for their good? Have I not pleaded for you before the enemy in the time of trouble and in the time of distress? Can one break iron from the north and bronze? Well, these sound like rhetorical questions. But the answer to those is yes. You can, in fact, break iron.
It's associated with armor, is the guess that.
Sure. That makes sense.
Has.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Your wealth and your treasures I will give as spoil without price for all your sins throughout all your territory. I will make you serve your enemies in a land that you do not know. For in my anger a fire is kindled that shall burn forever. Well, that also didn't turn out to be the case.
So Asia Minor was known. Asia Minor.
That would
was
be
known
modern day Turkey.
for its high quality iron. But in general, invaders from Jeremiah come from the north. The menacing note of the verse and what follows is a pointed antithesis to the positive declaration in verse 11. I stood by you against the enemy, but you failed to change your ways, and now I will bring disaster upon you.
Yeah, makes sense. It lines up with all the other biblical stuff we've read, right? Oh Lord, you know, remember me and visit me, and take vengeance for me on my persecutors. In your forbearance, take me not away. Know that for your sake I bear reproach. Your words were found, and I ate them, and your words became to me a joy, and the delight of my heart, for I am called by your name, O Lord God of hosts. So one thing I want to point out here is the whole eating of the words. I forget which book it's in, but there is an eating of a
It's
scroll.
in Ezekiel, who eats a scroll with God's words on it.
There you go. Okay, thank you. I did not sit in the company of revelers, nor did I rejoice. I sat alone because your hand was upon me, for you had filled me with indignation. Why is my pain unceasing, my wound incurable, refusing to be healed? Will you be to me like a deceitful brook, like waters that fail? So, yeah, he's just, straight up telling God, I did all this stuff for you, and now you're failing me.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
It's pretty disappointing.